Welcome to the SHT podcast. This podcast is created by our community, for our community, and for anyone else who wants to look, feel, and perform like a frickin' badass. Your holistic health journey starts and continues right here with us. Rediscover how you were meant to live. Is that what you wanted me to say?
All right, hey, what's up, y'all? So I'm excited to bring this interview to you with Xavier Larin, also known as X, which has got to be like the coolest name you could possibly have. But X came to us back in 2014 or 15 when we were doing a full-blown SHT through a Keller Williams office because his parents work in the real estate industry and he had a chance to come to this 10-week progression. And back then, we didn't just cover food. We covered food and all our other lifestyle factors. And he took to every bit of it and has implemented it, has been a diehard since. And it's been great to see this guy evolve. And so there's a lot of great little learning points and nuggets in this conversation. So I'm excited to bring it to you guys. Let me know what you think. All right, so we are here with the one and only X, which is short for Xavier.
Woo!
Right? Some people want to say Javier. Someone asked me about you the other day.
It's a little back and forth, but no, it's with the X.
Yeah,
I think my mom only calls me Xavier.
Okay. Dude, X is like one of the coolest names you could ever possibly have.
It's pretty easy.
Especially if you're fit and healthy and stuff. So, the intention behind us sitting here and chatting today is just to really give people an insight into you and your life and learn a little bit about you and to hopefully, empower someone with some useful information, based on your experiences and stuff.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, how long have we known each other? Like, when did you come into that little Keller Williams situation?
So my mom invited me to do the Keller Williams SHT, the group in 2013.
Yeah.
So May of 2013.
Yeah, that was our first year of ever doing these big group things.
It was cool. It was cool for me. The attention getter, it felt like school. I had been out of school for a little bit, and it kind of got boring being out of school. Mm-hmm. So you had a pretty cool classroom style of like teaching it, and that's what kind of hooked it for me. Yeah. I know I was sitting in a room with like adults that had like day jobs and stuff, but having been out of school, it was nice and refreshing to get like that type of education or to see something like that. And it was with food. I'd never really taken any type of class in school that was like that geared towards like food. So right off the bat, it was a pretty cool attention getter.
Yeah. So I was telling X, before we started this, he's an inspiration to me because I remember when he came in there, he looks completely different now. Maybe we can get a before and after picture.
We'll find
something. And not that he looked bad or anything. He just I don't know. Anyway, it's just he's been with us for a while, and I look up to him and admire him because he's one of those people that has taken the info that we've put out, like in the SHT, at the CrossFit Combine, and he's ran with it and completely internalized it and made it his own. And I know that that's probably been a progression over the years, but what I see right now is just like a very, very strong, confident, just balanced person, leader.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look up to you. So it's like, that's why I wanted to get you on here, just to kind of share your story with other people.
Hell yeah, thank you.
And then how old are you?
Just turned 26 in March.
Dude, man.
So been on the SHT since I was like 19.
You've lived half my life, man. And you already got this figured out. That's so cool. And then, so if we could, I think this is kind of interesting. Describe your life in pivot points. Basically, those big situations that turned your life in a different direction or trajectory, and they could have been bad, what would have been considered bad at the time, but was life-changing in some way or good or whatever. Yeah.
Just from the start, growing up, I was always about playing. So I think playing outside or playing with friends or just having buddies to hang out and get some type of activity, that was pretty pivotal for me. Just because a lot of people would play organized sports or just be doing something all the time. I was just happy to be with a friend a day, just running around playing. So friends and being outside were super pivotal. I think that's kind of how it got back into physical activity and training. Mm-hmm. But being outside, super pivotal. High school, played some sports, but didn't really have much motivation to do anything. I actually didn't know what I was going to do out of high school. So I just thought I had to go to college to appease the parents and I don't know, make them proud, I guess. It was kind of like an out of self.
Even then, you kind of realized or knew it wasn't like you weren't feeling it? You weren't too excited about it? Or?
No, I'd coasted through the first 18 years of life, kind of a people pleaser. I wasn't going to get in trouble if I didn't put stress on anybody's plate. So it worked out pretty well. It's just, once I got to college, I got bored of it. It just wasn't for me. I wasn't learning what I wanted to. I didn't even know it was about health. So that was a...
What do you mean you didn't know it was about health? Life? It's about life? Or...
appreciating health. I wasn't appreciating health. I was just going through the motions, doing what I thought I had to do to fit in, type stuff. So while trying out college, like one of my best friends, super athletic dude, like we all have that friend that's like the pinnacle of an athlete, like just grew up ahead of the game. He gets in an accident, so it was pretty crazy. It like left him quadriplegic.
I remember you telling me about this. Yeah.
Left him paralyzed from the neck down, and I'd known the guy for like 12 years. So I just dropped school. I went to go live on the East Coast with him and his family for a couple months, and that was super pivotal. It really humbled me. It was like, holy crap, life is short. Wow. Like the best of us are not safe. So it kind of startled me into like really thinking about what I wanted to do. And I kind of...
How old are you?
Sorry?
When was that? How old were you?
So I was about 17 or 18 when he had his accident. So I went out and lived on the East Coast for like maybe 5 or 6 months with his family. Got to learn a lot about hospice care and taking care of that type of situation. And it just humbled me. I was like, I have a body. I kind of want to devote my life to like teaching people how to do something with it, because you really don't know what you have until it's like totally gone. And we're not talking like this is like a switch you can flip. Like my friend is paralyzed. So that really shook me. I came back and I've just been grateful for all the opportunities ever since. I decided that I wanted to get into personal training. That led to getting into a couple of certifications, but it still wasn't anywhere near where I wanted to be. And then my mom got a hold of, she'd been supporting me through all of my, learnings of being a trainer. So she invites me to Keller Williams because like the office had brought you in to put on like your deal for everybody. So she was thinking about me and like really supportive of this whole trainer thing, this whole leaf turned, because I was in college and then I have to call her and tell her like, hey, I'm dropping out. Like my best friend since I was like 8 just got in an accident. So I imagine that was very unsettling to her, but she was super supportive. So super pivotal. Also like supportive a parent, definitely. So she brings me in, I get to meet you, and it just gave me a different perspective on like how to treat health. A lot of people are very exercise oriented, and that's cool and all. There is a focus on exercise, but your focus, 1, it was a little more educational, and 2, it wasn't exercise focused. It was on the food, which that was total left field for me. So super pivotal. I like stopped training for a little bit just so I can like actually learn and like backtrack what you're talking about, like fact check it. Not that I didn't believe it, because you're a pretty lean dude. That was like another thing. Like usually the people that are practicing this, not necessarily all of them preach it. And I don't know, maybe that appealed to me, but that practice what you preach, money. So I was like, this is a pretty fit dude. He says it's about the food, so let's try it. And then you go through the progressions. That whole 2013 was very pivotal. And since then,
what was like? How were you doing things at the time? Didn't you say you were like a sugarholic and all that stuff, or was that?
Oh yeah. The SHT turned everything around. I had grown up eating more for convenience, eating whatever was more affordable, not paying attention to quality. I was a calorie counter. You read on the sites, you got to keep a certain amount of calories to get muscle or get whatever you're trying to get. And I just thought it was all about
personal training certifications. They'll say that. Yeah.
The certifications, yeah, definitely. They're very. It's more quantity versus quality. So that's a big thing that you flipped on the head for me. The quality of these calories. So I got to paying attention, the quality of what's going in my body, And you made a bunch of other points, like getting sleep. That was something so basic, but growing up, I didn't get a lot of sleep. You stay up late, watching TV, eating bowls of cereal. You just build these little routines that aren't focused on sleep. So fix the food a little bit, fix the sleep a little bit, and then the rest was just the little odds and ends that kept it fun. Like I said, I dropped school, so coming back to it, it's like you gave me homework or gave me little projects. There was some type of grading stuff, but that was like, I'm paying for this program. Like the grade is what I put into it. So I just kept running with it. It came very night and day. Like you go your whole life eating a bunch of sugar, a bunch of sweets, a bunch of breads, and then you hear that bacon and eggs is healthier, and then you're like, wait, what? So just enjoyed bacon and eggs for a while, and then that stimulated the curiosity. I did a full year of just eating bacon and eggs, and then you discover there's a whole another world out there. So a lot of experimenting, and then after I got the food a little more dialed in, I felt better. I felt more alert, a little more focused. That's when I started honing in on my moves. I started with my mobility, then you add stability, and then you find the moves that you like. Like back then, I did play a lot of sports where there was like running and sprinting, so I started there a little more familiar, just to build the little foundation. And then, some people want to lift weights, some people want to lift heavy weights. I just did a little bit of everything. So then you started talking about CrossFit. I looked up like a bunch of the YouTube stuff on CrossFit. It seemed pretty cool, but I was like, that's a lot of moves. So I kind of just devoted myself to learning all those moves, just staying within, I don't know, I guess my lane. I wasn't trying to go out the gate with it, especially since I was like eating well, resting well. I was like, let's actually try this. Like I can recover well. I was actually gaining weight. When I was younger, I felt my metabolism was super hyperactive, so I was never able to maintain my weight. I was eating a bunch of sweets, getting really hyper, and then burning everything off. There was no chance for my body to like rest, recuperate, and like rebuild. So you definitely taught me how to slow down. And I'll say for Pivotal, that's where we have now. Just really steady practice, and like I'm not trying to conquer the world with training, but I do love teaching classes. I do love spreading this type of awareness to people and just like bringing it a little more into perspective, because like a lot of people want to go really hard with all the stuff that they do. It's respectable, but we have a whole lifetime like reinforce this stuff.
That's right, man. That's a really good point that I think all of us need to do better, or have this intention to get people to understand. It's like you're not going to get it all at once, and you can't. And it's like taking it slow. You got an entire lifetime to tinker with this stuff.
But then 7 years later, I wake up and I'm like, I can walk outside barefoot for a good couple miles just because like I practiced 7 years ago all that time. Same thing with food. Like, do I still have an itch for the sweets? Definitely.
Yeah, because you almost turn down my fudge every time I try to give it to you. You're like, man, I might have a problem with that.
7 years of practice, you definitely like learn enough about yourself to like what you can flirt with and what's going to get you in trouble. So everybody is different for sure. I have to preach that too, because my whole family, like all of us, we have our different things that we enjoy. Mine is particularly the sweets. Like everybody else, it's probably more like the breads and the chips, and I'm like, to each their own. But these days I just mess with what I enjoy. Not very often, but again, that awareness of like not overdoing it.
And then I would say Pivotal also just coming here and coaching at the CrossFit Combine, right?
I want to say it's Pivotal, but I also think that it's like a product of having practiced all of this. So yeah, it's Pivotal because I did get the job, but like you've practiced with your program for a really long time, and you can tell you're very like you say it's going to get you lean, and you're a lean dude. Like you go back in the day, you have the coaches that are very do as I say, not as I do. It's cool if you're motivated by that, but for some of us, like we want somebody to teach us that like looks like they understand what they're teaching. So same thing with Coach Colby. Super fit dude, super very well-rounded in CrossFit. Not like the high school coach that's like a little on the heavier side, telling everybody to run when clearly he doesn't look like he can run. So that's a pretty big deal in my world. That's kind of why I stuck with the SHT. You're very practice what I preach. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I think that's what gets the results. Like you just practice. Sometimes you want to post everything that you do, but at the same time you got to realize, like, am I practicing it, or am I just like doing it for like 5 seconds to post it? So everybody goes through it, I think, but at the end of the day, like, everybody has their own goals. So I just really kept to my goals, and you gave me kind of like a level head to do so. Like, very calm, very, like, I got plenty of time to do this if you're going to help people anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. Who have been on this path like your main leaders or inspirations? You got anybody in particular?
So I got to throw shouts out to the parents, just because, like, I think a parent they'll either mold you or they'll force you the other way. Like, I've definitely, when I dropped school because I wasn't feeling it, I did feel a little bit of tension between myself and my mom, but she's so loving and so, like, chill that she was, at the end of the day, like, hey, you got to do what you love. Like, thank you for thinking of me and trying to go to school because, you know, that's what society wants us to do. But do what you love. And if you want to go to school, it's because you love it. So shouts to the parents that, like, reinforce that, you know, everybody's different. Everybody gets to tinker around with what they want to do. So
how does she feel now about where you're at? Like, now that you've been out of it for a little bit.
So I've gone from less talking about it to now she sees it. She sees it in fruition. That's another thing. It's like actions speak louder than words. Like, it's cool if you have a plan, but until you actually do something with it, especially with parents just want to see their kids, like, succeed. So she actually got to see the actions behind the words. Like, Mom, I want to share health with people. So it's cool. You raise a kid that wants to help people, and at the same time you see that they're actually doing something with it. So the job at the gym definitely stamped that. We'll get her in here. She likes working, but to each their goals. Like, I like training. I love training. So that's why I'm here. We'll get her in here, but she's got to be the first one. Next, probably you. Your level of information, it's not ridiculously brainy. But, like, if you did go to a basic high school biology class and you learned about, like, cells and stuff like that, when you take your program, you do touch up on stuff like that, like cells. And I'm like, okay, I did see this in high school, but not related to food. So you kind of related, like, the positive parts of, like, learning with something that everybody enjoys is food. So you pretty much taught me how to learn about my food and how that food, like, affects and fuels me. Because, like, as much as we want to do a bunch of work, all that work, like, requires energy, and it doesn't just come out of anywhere. So fueling properly, getting that sleep, letting your body do its thing instead of trying to force it and rush it, I think it's definitely the way to go. So, and thank you for that. So thanks a lot. And then just a third to round it out, a third inspiration is just anybody that's out there that's, like, constantly trying and retrying. Because, like, at the end of the day, we're all humans. Some of us have really good practice trying, and then others, like, it's a daily thing. We have to keep trying and practicing. So that's a pretty big inspiration. It's like one of those humblers. It's like, we're all on this journey together. Our goals are different, but we each get a try for our goals. So it's cool. You get to relate to people. This isn't like I don't know, I've never felt like I was better than anybody because I was, like, my level of trying, but it was more of like, crap, I'm in the world with everybody else. We all get to try, we all get to survive, and we all get to, well, choose to be happy. So as far as inspirations, yeah, Mom, yourself, Paul T., and then the people that are out there trying every day. Because, like, sometimes we need it. Sometimes we're in a slump ourselves. But when we see that person that's, like, maybe their situation looks a little bit more dim than ours, but they're still trying, it's like, well, okay, maybe I get to just cool down a little bit and then come back to trying again. Like, not beat yourself up over it type deal.
Yep. It's good stuff, man. So what would be the most important skill that you feel like you've cultivated?
So calming down, open-mindedness, and like listening. So it's to your goals. If you're trying to learn something and you're trying to get good at it, you get to really calm yourself down to be open to the information from everywhere, whether it's good or bad. That's like kind of depending on your goals. Everybody has their own perception of what's good and bad, but it's like you get to really look at all of it and then take the pieces that, may work for your goals, and then recognize the pieces that are, maybe I need to research that a little bit more. So open-mindedness has definitely helped out a lot.
What's helped with that? Like, how do you cultivate that? Is it just a byproduct of everything you've been doing, or is there anything in particular?
So on a literal sense, like back then before I started the progression, which is why it's so pivotal, I would consider myself very hyperactive, very sugared out, very fast-paced thought, very easily irritable. Again, I wasn't sleeping much, so lack of sleep has its own factors. I didn't feel as focused back then, to just really simple. But after the progression, you learn how to calm a couple things down. The fuel isn't so, it's more about repairing and restoring. It's less about over-fueling or fueling for activity. So I got onto the repair and restore, and then I think literally, like, you stop indulging in the stuff that makes you hyper, and you become less hyper. It's very literal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
calm down a lot.
That's what we see, man. Like, a lot of people, without even talking about meditation or mindfulness, once they get the food kind of figured out, they start to come in my office and they're like, I just feel different. Is this normal? Like, I'm like, I don't get upset anymore like I used to. And like, just little stuff like that happens automatically.
It's almost described as like quiet, flirting with like boring. But then you realize you're like, wait a minute, like, I'm here. Like, what do I want to do? Like,
Yeah, you start to question your life. Like, that happens over and over again, man. People, it's like they wake up and they're just like, there's a lot more here or to do, or that might make me happy than where I'm at right now, or something like that. Yeah.
I stopped thinking about what I had to do for like the entire week, and just more focused on like the day. Like, did I really drink enough water? Did I really get enough sleep? If not, like, I'll take a nap or drink some more water. Not the end of the world, but like really in tune with the day. So it's kind of harder when I like plan for the week. It's harder to plan for the week because I'm like right here, like in today. I'm like, right now I feel tired. If I try to plan for the week, it's gonna just tire me out more, man, because you're tired. But if you start your week a little more peppy, a little more relaxed, you're able to not rush into it, but break it apart that much more, I guess. Slow it down and ease into it.
Yeah. So what has been your biggest difficulty or challenge on your path? What comes to mind?
So at the start, it was being accepting of like others' journey, because
not being critical or something like that.
Yeah, type of stuff. Because you hear a lot of people talk about, oh, my goals. Oh, why don't I have this? Oh, why don't I have that? And then, I don't know, we're humans. Some of us are a little more like, we want to talk about it. Some of us want to tell people stuff. For me, it was more of like understanding that everybody has their own goals. They're not the same as mine. So I get to be a little more careful with what I'm sharing. I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but like, I think there's a big difference between talking about your goals and doing them. So it was a lot of sorting through that, like listening to people because you want to listen to them and be that ear, not because you want to give them something back, because like, we're all on this journey together. We all get to look at ourselves and how we'd like to present ourselves. And I think in like the most caring way, like you want to be that example. So being the example and talking about the example, two different things. So that's one thing that I'm like before I start talking, like, am I living up to it? So like questioning myself type deal.
Yeah. But challenge wise, it's like once you kind of became awake and aware of all this stuff, like
it's all
noticing
love.
your critical mind, you know, around other people not, or something like that.
Yeah, no, everybody has their story. I have my story, and it's all love. If I come at it with a place of love, like, it's a lot more heartwarming in terms of trying to share this information instead of like trying to force away on people. Like, people do want to be told what to do, but at the same time, I think there's a level of subtlety to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like being the example for sure. It's all coming from a place of love, especially with like my goals in being a trainer. I only want like the safety of the people that come through this gym. So if that's through food, if that's through, you know, movement patterns, it's coming from a place of safety and love.
Yep.
So cultivating that, it's I want to be super successful as a trainer and as all this stuff, but like when you're talking about sharing this with the world, in this world that's like, it just sounds like the world's a little angry, the world's a little shaken. So you kind of have to come at it from an angle that's not that.
Yeah. And everybody's trying to do the best they can with what they have. When you really think about it, everyone's trying to be happy. Yeah. And everyone wants, you know, health and to be in a body they're very comfortable with and confident with and all that stuff. They're just trying to figure out their own journey, you know. Yeah. And,
I'll also say everybody's goals are super individualized.
Some people don't even go ahead. I was going to say, some people don't. I was realizing this. I'm getting ready for a talk tomorrow, and some people don't care as much as we do about some of these things, and then some people do, and they just don't have the right info. Yeah, and, you know,
as much as you want to be like, but you'll feel better.
Yeah, it's like
you got to be like, okay, well, they get to figure that out for themselves.
Yeah,
like,
I feel good.
Really I feel good. I'm gonna just hang on to it for me, and then if they want a piece. You know, it's from a place of love. I don't want to force anybody into this health stuff just because everybody has their different definition of health. Very different.
Cool. Well, why don't you walk us through a typical day? Like, what is do you have any routines? I know that you sound like you kind of live by the live off the cuff or something like that. But like, if you could walk us through a typical day, what's a day look like?
So. Going back to the little journals from the SHT progression, you had like a bunch of little boxes where you'd like mark your sleep, mark your hydration, mark your sun exposure. I kind of do that, not all at once, but I've done that drill enough times to like kind of checklist it throughout my day. Every day is a little bit different. Some days I'm coaching at the gym, some days I'm not. I go straight into my job outside of this. I'm a barista at Starbucks. It's helped me while I study all this stuff to get in there. But it's hustling. So some days you get to put a little more thought into it. Some days are a little more like on the fly. But base level, when I wake up, I usually have to use the bathroom because I'm staying hydrated. So use the bathroom, and then I'll drink a bunch of water just because, I don't know, I get hot when I sleep. So first thing, use the bathroom, drink a bunch of water. If there's time in the morning, there is some like morning mindfulness practice. I'll just sit in the middle of my living room. If it's nice out, I'll crack the sliding glass open, hear the birds outside. But I like to sit in the quiet for at least 15 minutes, you know. On the busier days, you get what you can get. But on the calmer days, like I'm here at the gym, I'm starting to come into the early classes, so I'll get to enjoy the peace and quiet of the morning a little bit more. So I've enjoyed my peace and quiet. I've either trained or gone to work at Starbucks. I'll usually get my first meal around the afternoon. I do a little more of my eating in the afternoon to the nighttime, just because I have a little more time, a little more freedom. I like to put more thought into my meals, get a little more variety and flavor, so the afternoon is a better time for me to really plan that out.
You get coffee and stuff in during the day? I see you drink a cup of coffee. Yeah, I know.
In the morning, I'll enjoy like a nice cup of black coffee. I'll usually put the creamer in after the workout, usually the heavy cream type stuff. But yeah, the creamy cup of coffee, it's more for the slower, more relaxed days. If I want that quick on the go, you save money on pre-workouts. This is literal. You save money on pre-workouts with a black cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It gets very straight to the dome.
The best pre-workout.
But yeah, by the afternoon, I've gotten work in, I've gotten a workout in. The afternoon is a little more about winding down. So about 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm usually done with all my stuff. I'll come home, have my dinner. I usually prepare something a little bit larger. And it's cool with the flexibility of like the SHT. I know what I'm eating, so I have my food for myself. I do live with my girlfriend. She's a little bit less on board with the food as far as like the quality is. So she usually eats what I eat, but I do have a little cabinet for her odds and ends that she enjoys that aren't necessarily SHT, but she acknowledges like I don't eat that stuff, so she keeps it to herself in her space, and I really appreciate that.
What do you eat most days? Is it the same thing, or you mix it up, or like what do you have for your first meal and your evening meal? Or what's an example, maybe?
Example meals, it's a lot of...
And what time? And what time do you have your meals?
Yeah. So my first meal usually be around like 11, noon, 1 o'clock, between that window. It's something super simple. Ground beef and eggs, bacon and eggs, steak and eggs. I'm not too married to the eggs, but I like getting creative with them. Sometimes the eggs will be an omelet, sunny side up. I don't really like them scrambled too much anymore, but I do like them. I like Cajun seasonings, taco seasonings, just that garlic, salt, something spicy, and pepper. I love that stuff. Maybe throw in an avocado. I like avocados. And as far as the meals, that's pretty straightforward. Maybe supplement with like a tablespoon of coconut oil or like a good plant fat, something like that. Every now and then we'll throw in like some fish, like a can of sardines from the Mediterranean protocol. That stuff's pretty tasty, but a little more simpler for the first meal, just some fuel in case I have stuff to do with the rest of my day. And then that'll get me to dinner. Dinner, I usually like to get a little more filling. I'll have my, half cup of starches. A little bit less sweets lately. I've been enjoying more of the white rice, more of the sweet potatoes, the small potatoes. Those are really good. They season really well. You can put cheese on them. I just really tend to get creative with that dinner because it's comforting. I'm trying to go to sleep on a win. Like you go to sleep on a very, delicious meal. Maybe you have a little bit of a dessert, like a little bit of some... I've gotten really good at eating half the ice cream instead of the whole ice cream, but every now and then you throw in some ice cream. Yeah. It just depends on the day, how busy, how taxing the day, what I want to feel good going to sleep on. So it kind of plays around how I want to go to sleep. If I'm trying to fuel, you eat towards the fuel, but if I'm trying to relax, you eat towards relax. So.
And then what time do you do that usually, and then what time do you go to bed?
Bedtime, well, because I'm starting with
what time do you eat that last meal, and then what time do you go to bed?
So I try to eat my last meal maybe an hour before bed, just because I want to enjoy it, and then just chill out. Maybe watch a little bit of a show with my girlfriend, just eat my meal, have some space, and then I'll go lay down. I find that if I eat my meals too close to bed, I'll have to wake up and go to the bathroom way earlier than I need to. Because I've been coaching the earlier classes, bedtime's gotten a little bit earlier, but I've been practicing with the bedtime for the last 7 years, so dialing it back a little bit, you just go in increments, and it works itself out, but you just take it in small steps. You do have to go to bed a little bit earlier, but if you like coming in to train, you understand that going to bed, it's not a big deal. You'll go to bed earlier. And then bedtime's usually, nowadays it's 8 o'clock, just because I want to have that 8 hours. I think 8 is the magic number for myself.
Yep.
I hear some people can get away with 6 or 7. More power to you, but I grew up on less than 8 hours of sleep. So now I'm really curious as to what it would do for me if I let myself sleep.
Sleep is like one of the biggest missing links, I think, for a lot of people. Once you start to get that dialed in,
just the feel good of sleep. Like a lot of people, they think they get that feel good from going hard, and I'm like, sure, but that feel good of hitting the pillow after a long, exhausting day, it's something else. It's like you earned it. You're not thinking about the rest of the week. You're like, man, I made it. So
look forward to it.
Yeah.
And then do you have like any kind of pre-bed ritual? Like, I know you like to hang out with your girl. Do you do any tea, anything like that? Or you just hit the sack after chilling out for a little bit?
After a busy day, I like to count the wins, just because my mind will race and start to think about the rest of the week. But if I have a quick list of like 5 things that I got done or that I can acknowledge, like if I'm hanging out with my girlfriend and we just have a day into ourselves, we usually get some cleaning done. So I'm thankful to get the cleaning done. Just make a quick list of stuff to be thankful for. In the training world, thankful for no injuries. Thankful that I'm not exhausted to train. Some people, like, if you're exhausted to train, just take a break from training. It's not going anywhere, but type stuff. So
I love that.
To keep myself from thinking too far ahead, I just count up some wins, and then you go to sleep on the wins. I had a delicious meal, maybe a little dessert. Man, life's pretty all right.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we'll set up most nights and just say, all right, how was your day? What was the best things about today? You know, like, and yeah, the food, man. The food's something really great to be grateful for. Thanks for that reminder. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So maybe just a little bit of personal stuff. You like live music?
It depends. It depends on what I'm doing. If I know I'm about to have a busy, fast-paced day where I'm working both jobs and I have stuff to do where I'm helping people out, a little bit of faster music for sure.
Well, live music.
Live music.
Yeah, like what's the first concert you ever went to?
So I'm a huge fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, nice.
So
I've never been to one of their shows.
No? Live? I saw them in 2012, 2013. They're a group of older dudes. They've been doing this stuff since like the mid-'80s, but they still have that energy, that charisma. They're jumping off the stage, rocking out with their instruments. Yeah.
That's great.
That type of energy. If they're getting into it, I'm getting into it. So live music, it could be a rock show, hip-hop show.
What's the first concert you ever went to? Do you remember?
The first concert, it was more of like a music festival. I went out with a friend to Denver. It was called like Riot Fest. It's like a punk rock festival. I wasn't super into punk rock, but I had a couple friends that were, so it was more of like, I hear a lot about festivals, so I wanted to try one out. Not necessarily one of the bigger ones or the electronic music, but I like the rock stuff, so it was cool.
Love it. I love shows like that where you can bounce around from stage to stage and get a taste of different, styles and themes and stuff.
The hype.
Yep. What is the movie that you've watched the most?
The movie that I've watched the most.
Man, somebody asked me that. I got an answer right away.
Oh, man.
Or is there one?
So it was probably more TV shows. I watched a lot of cartoons. I was real big. So the earliest cartoon that I remember that I watched a lot of was Tom and Jerry. It was quiet, but it was that like beat each other up comedy. It was a cartoon. They could make up all this stuff and it was hilarious. They didn't even have to talk. So lots of cartoons, lots of Tom and Jerry. Movies, maybe when I was older. The Star Wars stuff, it's cool.
Love Star Wars.
Yeah.
What were your favorite food, or what was your favorite food or foods before SHT?
Before SHT, you hit it. It was the sweets. Like growing up in Las Vegas.
Like what specifically?
It's hot, so the frozen dairy, the frozen desserts. You had the freeze pops. You had slushies. You had
slushies.
Just a nice cold soda. Man, it was so potent, so lethal, but that was the go-to. Ice cream.
Yeah.
Just cold and sweet. Because of Las Vegas. It's hot out here, man.
Yeah. Cool.
I could live off of those back in the day. It's probably why I didn't gain any weight. It was just all protein shakes and just, I don't know, quick on-the-go type stuff.
Yeah.
Like you get the calories in a shake and you think you're good, but that was before SHT.
Oh yeah.
And it was cold and delicious.
I lived off some crazy stuff, man. I can't believe that
they made some cookies and cream flavored protein shakes, man, and they want you to put in a banana, all this. It was so delicious, so cool and refreshing.
Some of the Pro Max bars and stuff.
Yeah.
I lived off of that stuff for
it tastes like brownies.
Yep.
That was a lot of that.
Cool. Well, let's finish up with just a little bit of SHT. So if someone's listening to this and they
all SHT,
they want to get a little insight into just some things that maybe they can learn from. What was your experience like for someone who hasn't been through it? Like, what was your experience like? What could they expect going through some of the classes, courses, or progressions?
It is slow and steady. Just like anything, you read about it and you think you can knock it out in 2 weeks. But the SHT, you guys, or you specifically, you made the learnings in increments of 2 weeks. So you got 2 weeks to practice with a couple things. Then the next 2 weeks, you get another couple things. It's like you're not getting all the information blurted out to you, but it's piece by piece. So it gives you a chance to, I guess, metaphorically say, digest each piece, and then you get another piece of something new that you can add on to it or you can experiment with. Just the one that stuck out to me that was the most humbling was the 2 weeks of low carb. Like I said before.
Yeah, when you did it was low carb cleanse too.
Yeah.
So it was low carb with no dairy, with no nut seeds.
No sweets, fruits, starches.
Yeah.
And it was a humbler. I beat myself up because I was like, X, your whole life you've been ruled by these sweets. You can't go 2 weeks without them. But I did. I went 2 weeks without them. I know you said on the weekends allow yourself a little bit of the fruit, but it attacked my ego at that point. I was like, wow, nobody thinks they have a master. Or I'm so independent. I'm so cool. The sweets were holding the leash for me, so I had to prove otherwise.
That's great.
But there was a sense of gratitude, though, because it's like, I'm not starving. You're just rearranging. I knew the sweets weren't going anywhere. You go to a grocery store, they're everywhere. They're definitely... It was retraining my brain to say, no thank you, not right now. And then you just flex that muscle, and eventually, some people, they really want to go against the grain, and others, they'll take it as they go. They're not as hindered by it, but they know about it. You raise the awareness. So the low-carb cleanse was the super big one for me. And then the rest of it was all in stride. Like, you included stuff about barefoot grounding, which was really cool. You look up some articles, whether it's the internet or you find a textbook, and there's a lot of stuff behind barefoot grounding. A lot of people don't realize that when they're born, they don't have shoes. So that's a pretty big eye-opener. It's a little more literal to the face, but it was cool. The sun, this big thing that's been making me hot, sweaty, and irritable this whole time. There's some science behind the sun. You really pay a little more attention to science, and then you learn a little more about the universe. So the learning piece was pretty cool, especially if you like learning. Like, it's not a textbook, but you get the good snippets that you would find in a textbook.
Yeah, and you got the resources to dig into it deeper. If you
want to. People have been studying and tinkering with this stuff for a long time. It's just, this way was pretty organized where you can take it in chunks.
Cool. And then what's the most significant changes that you noticed, or how has it impacted your life?
The calmness. I think my body calmed down. I'm able to gain weight if I want to, sustain weight. Calmness mentally. I think back then I was a little too hyper to focus in school. But once I've calmed down, I've been able to focus and learn my craft in training, learning the moves, the angles, really hone in on what all this, or whatever I'm learning, is about. So I'm not trying to rush through stuff. I take stuff in pieces, units, bits, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of calmness. So definitely, coming from the hyperactive side, I've calmed down a lot.
Cool. And then what advice would you give to someone, or maybe even yourself, knowing what you know now, before beginning something like that? Like, is there advice that you give yourself?
So it's more of like, if I got to say my biggest piece of advice, like, do it for you. The thing about this program, it's never felt forced, like, at all. Like, you've never said, do it this way, not that way. It's never felt like blunt force, like forced to do this. You have the information. If you want to do it, then yeah, do it. You totally can. You're here as a resource. You have, like, the other people doing it with you, the examples, the people you can share it with. Like, you have all that at your disposal. So do it because you want to. A lot of people, I feel, do stuff because they have to. It's a different feeling. Sometimes you feel pushed towards it. Sometimes it, like, can go the opposite way. Don't tell me what to do. I'll do it when I want to. So that program gave me a lot of that. Yeah.
Cool. And then what's your favorite foods now? Or favorite food?
Oh man, it's got to be a ribeye steak. I've learned how to always I can enjoy them on the grill, on the pan, whatever. Just ribeye steak, sautéed in butter.
I was gonna say, how do you do it?
Oh,
that's it. Sautéed in butter.
I just make sure the pan is pretty heated. Throw the butter down. Before the butter starts to burn, you put the steak on there. And then it's to your goals. Some days I want a little more blood. Some days I want a little more cooked. The steak is delicious. If you're in control of it, you can season it to your liking. I think it's a little more cost effective too. You go to a steakhouse and they season it for you. But if you're at home, you don't have to worry about it. You either get it to your liking or you can just adjust it. But
yeah.
Steak.
Dude, steak is where it's at. And we've kind of mastered it now. It's like pretty much butter, salt, and pepper. But lately we've been doing butter and then sauteing some garlic in the butter first. And then searing the steak. Oh my God. It's
Tons
so
of different
good.
ways.
Yeah. What is something that most people don't know about you?
I don't think there's much of that. I think it's since becoming on the SHT and calming down my perspective, I like to think I'm very face value. I'm just calm, here to work, here to learn and share with people, and then hopefully I'm practicing what I'm preaching.
Cool.
So, I'm pretty open with everybody. Everybody knows I got the sweet tooth. I'm watching it with the sweet tooth. Everybody knows I love coaching and doing this stuff, so bare basics, yeah.
Awesome. And then we'll just finish up with, where are you going from here? Like, do you have any near-term, long-term kind of goals, or you just living day by day?
So long-term goals, I do want to continue educating myself, to continue educating everybody else in this this gym community, this community of health. I think that the education piece, there wasn't a lot of it growing up in school. So maybe bring a little bit of community awareness to schools, maybe teaching kids a little bit younger about these choices, making them available, making cooking seem fun to the youth. I didn't think cooking was fun back in the day. And then I always wondered why my food tasted funny. Well, now that I'm cooking my food, I can make the food taste however I want. I just wish I'd learned that earlier. So giving back little things that people can, whether they're into fitness or whether they're just trying to improve their work life, that helps. Stretching a little bit in the morning, breathing a little bit deeper, drinking a little bit more water, especially because it's hot. So just giving and spreading those little simplicities as best as I can while practicing it. That's the goal. I know, you do something you love, it'll take care of you. That's where I'm pretty set with that. It's more of setting yourself up to do that. So lots of practice, lots of working at it, lots of keeping balance. I do love my family, so as much as I want to share this with the world, want to share it with my family, and I don't want to be a workaholic type stuff. So work hard, but don't be a workaholic, and then share with everybody, because I think deep down we all want to look and feel good in our own skin, that feeling of coming out of the shower. I don't care who you are, if you're working on it, you notice. Everybody's a little bit different. everybody's to their goals, but you notice. So that feeling, I want to share that with everybody. It's good stuff. Like, it keeps me coming back.
Cool. Well, brother, man, thanks for sharing yourself today. It's been great. Like I said, a lot of people look up to you. I definitely admire you. I've seen you transform on a lot of different levels, and you're just an amazing example of health and a great coach. And
thank you, boss.
It's great to be your friend, really. So thank you so much for sharing. And I think that's it.
Hell yeah.
For today. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. All right, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. If you haven't done so already, I'd highly recommend subscribing to our newsletter at superhumantransformation.com, where you'll get access to all our PDFs and resources. And then I would highly recommend checking out our community website at community.superhumantransformation.com.
And just remember, the purpose of this podcast is to support our SHT community and to be in your ear as a go-to resource for all things SHT.
Yeah, so if you've fallen off, if you need support, just come back and listen to some of these episodes, get re-inspired, re-motivated, and re-engaged. And if you're new to us, the best way to get started is by connecting with us through the websites that we already mentioned, or you can just go to sht4life.com, where you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
If you'd like to support us, the best thing you can do is take the information and be living examples to others. You can also share this with people you care about.
And if you'd like to be a part of something amazing and help us empower the planet together, again, I'd highly recommend checking out our community website at community.superhumantransformation.com.
It's a wrap.